I've seen just over the last year that many people have had some friendships come to an end because of passionate arguments over Palestine or other issues that they don't see eye to eye on. I know in my own life, I've also struggled with having really heated arguments with friends on certain issues, and then also acknowledging that because I'm so passionate about whatever we're talking about, that I also didn't necessarily express myself in the most patient and loving and kind ways that people might be more receptive to. And so that also made me question, like,
Yeah.
if I can't even change the minds of my closest friends or family members who I know so well, then how can I ever be impactful in talking to strangers? And at the same time, I know you referenced this idea that not everyone's going to make it. So I guess I'm interested in hearing you talk more about friendships in the context of social change and how we know when
Yeah.
it is time to let something go
Yeah.
due to just deep differences in our politics or belief systems, as in, is this just a matter of being more understanding that the seeds we sow aren't going to blossom right away and take time? Or maybe that our role is just to plant the seeds without
Mm.
necessarily expecting particular outcomes? Or else, how would you invite us to approach friendships and relationships differently?
Yeah, I love this. So I think one of the things is to recognize that relationships do change over time, and we're changing each other. Hopefully, in a healthy relationship, we're impacting each other and saving each other and showing up for each other, having each other's back. And that doesn't mean we're always agreeing on everything. And I love the question you asked, like, how can I do this if I can't even get my family member on board? One of the things that I have found really helpful is that I approach it as I am an invitation to freedom. I'm an invitation to justice. I'm an invitation to a different way of being in the world. And not everyone's ready to accept that invitation, but I don't withdraw the invitation, right? The invitation is an open, standing invitation. And then I have to protect myself. I have to protect my revolutionary spirit, my heart. I'm in a lot of grief these days. And so the way I've been navigating it is I make the invitation, I send people things that are like, here's actions you can take. Here's an article I think you should read. Here's a perspective, an action step that I think is a reasonable one. I send people stuff. I post things. I make sure that people know as much as I know. And I recognize that it's invitational, that my yelling down a person, my trying to make them feel shame doesn't necessarily open the portal. For most people, they actually have to surrender something within themselves for that portal to open. And, unfortunately, it's nonlinear. I wish there was a clear explanation. I wish it was as simple. Once you awaken, you're like, well, obviously, if people see this picture, if they hear these numbers, if they understand this power dynamic, if they read this book, obviously they're going to land in the same place that I did because they're my friend and my loved one. And I think that that's one of the big pieces is to understand that, like, just because we love people doesn't mean that they think the way that we do or see the world the way that we do, or that they're impacted in the same way when they do. I have a lot of people in my life who I know are deeply moved and hurt by similar things that hurt me, but their sense of agency over what to do about it is totally different from mine. And I have been trying, for a lot of my life to be like, how do I get you to take those emotions you feel and move them into action? One of the things that I think I don't know if it's good at, but I know I'm persistent at is when I feel something, I try to figure out how do I move that into action? And can I get people to take some kind of small action with me? And relationship is the way I find that works, that there's people who are like, well, if a stranger just says, do you care about this issue? I might not care about it. But if a loved one says, would you be willing to give something to this? Would you be willing to make a phone call? Would you be willing to make a donation? This matters to me. You make it personal for people. That's actually how you change people's perspective on things where they've been closed minded. That's one of the ways. I also think there's a book that I bring up a lot these days because I think it's really relevant for what we're moving through right now. It's called Brave Community. And it's a book about how to have conversations across great difference. And it talks about providing a similar grounding, like what are people all looking at to have the conversation? And I found it so useful because I didn't know this. I didn't notice this in myself, but often I would be showing up with my case fully built, like my mind wasn't open at all. I had already decided I was right. I wasn't curious about what the other person thought. These are people that I love. I'm like, I know them. I understand what they think already. And so I was showing up that way. And I think often the person I was showing up to convince to change their mind was showing up either the same way, or they were showing up just wanting to protect the status quo, right? Like, can we just stay the way we are? Or can I change you? Can I make you come more my way? I think that we have to be honest with each other when that's happening. Like, oh, this is no longer just a straight up relational space. This has become a space of recruitment or organizing and possibly manipulation. I try to be very, very cautious about manipulation. It's maybe the thing I pay the most attention to. I don't want people to make a move, even if it's the right move and it's the move that's most necessary. I don't want that to come from a forced place. I don't want it to come from a place of coercion or manipulation. My ideal is that people get to really make these decisions from an informed place. But we live in a world where we don't have time for everyone to get informed. So when I say that piece, like everyone might not make it, I talk about that like we're making an invitation to justice every day. That's what it is to be in movement, is to say there's a path for you. You could be free and your family could be free. You could have your rights and your family could have their rights. You could have body sovereignty. All these things are available to you, but you have to stand up for others as well. You have to join a community. That's how you get these things. And we make that invitation every day. A lot of people say no. Every single day, a lot of people say no. And part of the grief that I carry every day is the fact that so many people say no to this earth itself. The earth is giving us abundance. There's no need to actually be at war with each other. We have enough of everything we need. So the grief of many of us, I think, is when you realize like a lot of people reject that gift. That doesn't mean you stop offering it, right? The earth is our great teacher. The earth doesn't say, okay,
Mm,
fine, then no more summer, right? Even if it goes through phases and changes, it continues to offer abundance. We can do that. The sun is the same way. It continues to offer its gift, right? We're the ones who have to figure out what to do with it. And that, I think, is what relationship gives us the room to do, is figure out what do we do with the gift of each other? How do I become a gift to someone else's path, someone else's journey?